Right then. So, character profile.
Yes.
So, we spoke a couple of weeks back about how the Kraven film Sony were doing is just a heap of garbage before it's even started. Because they're changing the pinnacle of what it means to be Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
And while I was thinking about what kind of character I could talk about this week, I realised we spoke about it, and obviously me and you, like, we both grew up in the 90s and 2000s watching the Spider-Man cartoon, which portrays Kraven really honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So like I didn't feel the need to explain to you who Kraven was, but I forget that we could have fans, we could have listeners who are a little bit younger and maybe don't know Kraven that well and are confused as to why we're so worked up about it.
Yeah,
So,
I might have even just read the headline and not really get
yeah.
why it's
So
weird.
Kraven the Hunter is a Russian. His real name is Sergei Koronilov.
Great pronunciation.
Russian. He was born to an aristocratic family during the Russian Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Although I doubt the version we're going to see live actions that because that's making him very, very old. But this is the comic book version. Deal with it. He first appeared in 1964 in The Amazing Spider-Man number 15, which is another reason people are so rightly annoyed about the way Sony are fucking with him, because he's a legacy character.
Yeah. It's not like he's just been made up.
Yeah, it's not like a character who came about in 2005, like who has no real history and no one gives a fuck if it's done badly. This is a character that a lot of people care about.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, after the fall of his aristocratic family because of the Russian Revolution, he took up big game hunting because he wanted to feel powerful again. He wanted to feel noble again. He wanted to feel important again. And how else do you do that than killing defenseless animals with weapons? Now, what I will say to that, because I hate people who hunt animals, let's be clear. But as Kraven goes, he isn't the kind of hunter that you'd see on Facebook and you'd be like, oh, what a dickhead. Kraven did physically hunt the animals himself. He doesn't use guns or anything. But I mean, he would use tranquilizer dots occasionally. I don't know if he used them to hunt any animals against Spider-Man. But he's never been depicted as using guns or anything to hunt animals as far as I know. He like properly hunted with his hands and shit, and knives and spears.
The old school.
Not that makes him a better person because his motivations are completely fucked, but at least he wasn't just sitting 2 miles away with a sniper very safe.
Yeah.
But after being the best big game hunter in the world, he got bored.
As you do.
So during some discussions with like his manservant and stuff like that, he decided the only way to prove that he was the best hunter in the world was to hunt down this Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that is Kraven's entire motivation. Bear in mind how much of a legacy character he is. It's really not that deep. It's simply, I am the best hunter. I will prove it by hunting the most dangerous prey, the Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's got animal. An animal is part of his name, so he has to be hunted.
Yeah, exactly. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: because he was in the 60s, you can get away with the character's premise being simple because it's probably not been done yet. So that leads to Kraven being a problem on a number of occasions throughout Spider-Man's history. And then we come to what is the most famous Kraven storyline, Kraven's Last Hunt. Now, I am going to be completely honest. I have not read this comic.
Neither.
There is a reason for that. It's basically fucking impossible to get your hands on. Because it's like, so for those of you who don't understand, when a comic gets released, it gets printed.
Mm-hmm.
The first issue gets reprinted a bunch. Because say they print 10,000 issues, they sell out really quickly. They'll do another 10,000, sell out really quickly. Because people a lot of the time want number one of a new series because it could be really valuable one day, or it could be a part of history and I want it.
Mm-hmm.
But they then control how many they print. So after 15 issues, they might know, okay, we have like 10,000 weekly, monthly readers, we're only going to print 10,000 copies. And then maybe in 20 or 30 years, if that comic ends up being seen as an iconic comic, they reprint it so people can get a new edition of it, like you see with traditional books all the time. For some reason, Kraven's Last Hunt has only been reprinted like twice. And the most recent of which was, I want to say, let me Google this, I'm accurate though. Kraven's Last Hunt reprint.
Pause jump.
A long time ago. And for a long time, it was his last appearance as well, which made it even more valuable, which also makes it a little bit stranger that
they haven't printed
they haven't reprinted it that much, which means it's a very expensive comic to get hold of, and I'm not the kind of person who likes reading comics online.
Don't have the money to drop on.
Yeah. If I had that kind of spare cash going about, you best believe I'd be getting these kind of comics. But at the minute, we do not have the funds, big man. It's not looking good, bruv.
You do not have the facilities for that.
Exactly. But basically, the whole concept is an old Kraven who'd been kind of beaten up and worn down by Spider-Man being uncatchable, finally decides he's going to go at it one last time. He's going to get it done. And he kind of changes the way he does things slightly. He starts using guns because he's like obsessed. He's been driven to insanity with hunting the Spider-Man. So he gives up on even his way of doing things. And he's like, no, I'm just gonna shoot him. So he does. And he kills him. He then buries him. And he takes Spider-Man's suit and he pretends to be Spider-Man. To prove that he is better than Spider-Man in every way.
Interesting.
Because it's not just about proving that he's good enough to hunt Spider-Man. It's about proving he could be a better Spider-Man if he wanted to be. Because in every way he is superior to Spider-Man.
Well,
so after a stint of Spider-Man being very brutal, severely injuring 15 people and killing someone, he then writes a letter to the police explaining what happened and kills himself. Yeah. He's proven it. He's an old guy. There's nothing left for him to do, so he kills himself.
Interesting.
We then find out that he didn't actually kill Spider-Man.
Of course.
It was actually a tranquilizer dart. I mean, it was like, I believe, in the same issue. So I don't think it was like a retcon. Shit, we killed Spider-Man. Didn't like it was. I think there was a bit of foreshadowing to show that he hadn't actually managed to kill him, and it was just a really powerful anesthetic.
Got you.
So then we get quite iconic panel of Spider-Man like digging himself out of the grave. So that was the end of Kraven for a while. He has, as all things eventually are, the only people in comics that are truly dead are the Waynes and Uncle Ben.
Yep.
Everyone else eventually gets another chance. So Kraven has been resurrected. And because of the botched resurrection, he's technically immortal now.
Okay.
Unless he abandons his beliefs, acts as Spider-Man, and gets shot by his son.
It's quite a combination.
And you know what the craziest thing is? I believe currently he's dead.
Okay.
So that little weird shenanigans, I believe, might have taken place. If we've got any people who religiously follow the Spider-Man comics who know more about that, please feel free to explain that to me in the comments. I never claim to be the be-all and end-all of knowledge, but that was my understanding of Kraven at the minute. Yeah, so like I said, he's an extremely violent guy whose whole thing is being a hunter. But he's not just your bog standard human. Throughout his many years hunting throughout Africa during his big game days, he interacted with lots of witch doctors and,
of course,
people like that who understood ancient remedies. So over them years, he did manage to improve basically all of his physical attributes above human level, so that he was faster, stronger. You know how, like, in the Black Panther film, they have, like, the herb that they drink?
Yeah.
Imagine over, like, 20 years in Africa, he found lots of weaker versions of them that made him stronger over time. It's kind of like that.
Got you.
So he is still, like, a dangerous guy. He's very well trained, and he's an expert of all of his weaponry. He's also physically, like, perfect.
Well, yeah, he's just trying to become an apex predator, wasn't he? So.
Yeah, and as a result of that, he did age slower, as everyone does in comics. So I think that will give a little bit more context as to mine and Hori's outrage over the idea that he is an animal activist. And I don't understand how any animal activist could want to hunt and kill Spider-Man, but okay.
Yeah, it's like...
There's major issues here. We've already said this is just them going, we can't have a main character who dislikes animals. That shit don't fly. And it's like, you can if that's his entire shtick.
The only...
Don't try and give them don't try and fight their corner here.
This is more me trying to think what they're actually doing. If they're
a bad job.
Well, we know that. But like this is me predicting something they're gonna try and explain their reasoning. And I'm wondering if they're gonna do, because you know how you said he can only die when he gives up his beliefs about hunting. If they try to make it out like he's at that point. And he's completely changed his beliefs to be...
Now, that I could accept. However, that is something that's happened as he's a lot older, and we've got Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, yeah, true.
Playing him, who is a young guy.
Yeah, true. That's a good point.
I'm not even going to try and give... There was no way
that was the
Sony
only thing that I was like...
bullshit their way out of this.
They might try.
They just wanted the name for money. That was it.
Oh, yeah. We know what they're like, and we let's be honest, we know what we can expect with this film before we've seen anything. And I expect there to be a new set of memes like Morbin Time, but related to Kraven the Hunter.
What really upsets me about it is I think the casting is really good. And I think if he'd been given a chance to actually be Kraven in like MCU Spider-Man 4, that could have been phenomenal.
Well, it's like you could have easily done like
we get this shit.
Something with a Kraven film that's like Spider-Man 4 or links with Black Panther. Like, it's just Sony being Sony.